Okay, so hey, who's left on the trade market? We've got 3 big trades that have already gone down. We've got 2 weeks to go till the trade deadline comes on March 3rd. Who's left, guys? We're going to talk about it. Stick around. All right, so hey, Ducks Hockey and More's here. We're talking about trade rumors and players that are on the move and that kind of thing. This is my favorite time of the year for that reason. Now, keep in mind, I don't put a lot of stock into trade rumors. They are just rumors. All 3 big trades that have happened so far, the Tarasenko trade, the Bo Horvat trade, and now the Ryan O'Reilly trade, kind of came out of left field. It was just like, whoa. Didn't see that coming. So, don't put any stock to these. They're just rumors, but fun to talk about. So here we go on some players that are remaining. Now, 3 big names have already moved, right? So who's left? There's quite a few, way more than you would think. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I'm just going to run down a whole bunch of different players that are still possibly on the move and more likely going to get moved before the deadline. And then we'll talk about a couple in depth, a couple others. But either way, let's jump into it, right? So here we go. Big names. Who's left? Timo Meier. Okay, he is San Jose. I have a feeling. I mean, they're going to move him. LeBlanc is another one that might go. Erik Karlsson's another one. But Timo Meier specifically, he's really been in the rumor mill. New Jersey seems like a possible landing spot for him. They're big on him, but there's a lot of teams that are big on Timo Meier. It's just a matter of, can they afford him moving forward? You know what I mean? Are they going to re-sign him? And he's probably going to command at least about a $7 to $8 million a year contract. So a team's got to want to grab him and then sign him long term, I think. So interesting stuff. But Vegas, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Montreal, Detroit, Boston, Carolina. Those are some of the teams that have shown a lot of interest in him. We'll see where he ends up because I have a feeling he's going somewhere. Another couple out of Chicago, Patrick Kane. We've talked about this a million times. Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews. Where are they going to go? Patrick Kane recently came out, said, I'm not too happy. New York Rangers went after Tarasenko. He wanted to go to the Rangers. Toronto was another team he was willing to go to. Well, then they're off the list too. Ryan O'Reilly is now there. So is Patrick Kane going to go? Is he going to stay? He holds the cards in anything, right? But I really hope for Chicago's sake that they can trade him and get something for him, right? Otherwise, they may not get anything for him. He might go free agent, signing the offseason. That's potential too. If he doesn't like, any of the teams coming knocking and none of them are really ones he wants to go to, well, I don't know. Chicago's going to miss out on that one. But Jonathan Toews, Colorado, interested in Jonathan Toews. Boston also, Carolina and Seattle been rumored to be involved with Jonathan Toews and bringing him there. Big name, Jakob Chychrun. We've talked about him for a long time. Jakob Chychrun, he is now a healthy scratch. He's been taken out of the lineup to protect him because Arizona doesn't want him to get injured and lose value. So what's going to happen? Nothing's happened yet. This was several days ago that he was basically a healthy scratch and benched. Well, I wouldn't say bench, but healthy scratch, taken out of the lineup to protect him due to a possible trade. So, but where? He hasn't gone anywhere yet. The Kings were rumored to be the top runner for a Jakob Chychrun. And then I've also read some things where maybe the Kings are out. They're not interested anymore only because of the asking price. But with a guy like that, I think he's 24. He doesn't commit. He's got 2 years left on a deal that's like, I think it's $4.6 million. He's not, for what he brings to the table, he's not an expensive guy yet. He'll get a bigger contract when his current contract ends, but he's a guy I would think teams would be all over. Now, I know the asking price is high, but what he brings to the table is huge. Huge. Who the heck, man? So anyways, LA, Edmonton, those are the 2 teams that seem like highly interested. St. Louis even, Boston, to name a few, Pittsburgh, Calgary. But one of the ones that was interesting, the Anaheim Ducks are also listed to be rumored as a potential landing spot for Jakob Chychrun. Man, would that be awesome. The only thing on that is the Anaheim Ducks have a really good prospect pool of defensemen coming up through the system. So I have a feeling one of those guys is going to go to Arizona. If they give up Chychrun, one of our offensive-minded defensemen that we have coming up through our system is going to go to Arizona. So that'll suck. At the same time, it might not be a bad thing. Jacob Chychrun's an NHL proven offensive weapon that, man, I'd love to see him in a Ducks uniform. I really would. Moving on, Vladislav Gavrikov, another defenseman that is a healthy scrap, taken out of the lineup to protect him and because potential move, right? Edmonton. LA and Edmonton are big on this defense, especially Edmonton. The Oilers, I have a feeling, if they make a move, and they probably will, it's going to be a defenseman. They're linked to every defenseman that's available for trade. Edmonton's linked to them in some way, shape, or form. So anyways, Toronto, Boston, Calgary also linked to Vladislav Gavrikov. Tyler Bertuzzi, I just did a video on Tyler Bertuzzi from Detroit, possibly going to Toronto. There was a big rumor between that going, and it made sense, but obviously that's not going to happen. O'Reilly is now there. So is Tyler Bertuzzi on the move, and where is he going to go? Contract negotiations between Stevie Y and Bertuzzi have not gone well. Who's going to land Bertuzzi if he moves? Who we'll see. Dallas maybe. Calgary, LA even maybe possibly in on that. So in Vancouver, though, you got Brock Besser and Luke Schenn. Just a couple right there that potentially could be on the move. Brock Besser has been linked to Minnesota, New Jersey, Montreal, New York Islanders even, Calgary. So Brock Besser. Luke Schenn, on the other hand, Tampa Bay, Edmonton, okay? Minnesota, Calgary, Boston. So Luke Schenn, big stay-at-home guy, physical. I like him. He would help be a really good addition to a team looking to add that big stay-at-home type of guy that'll kind of an ominous force out there on the blue line type of thing. And he's, an experienced guy. So anyways, moving on, James Van Riemsdyk of the Philadelphia Flyers, rumored as well. Linked to Calgary, Dallas, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Vegas, several teams out there. Looking at Riemsdyk, he's a young guy. He would add a lot of depth and value to a team. John Klingberg of the Anaheim Ducks. He's an interesting guy because his defensive play is just not there anymore. I mean, every once in a while I see something where it's like, okay. But for the most part, his offensive ability is still what he has to bring to the table to another team. Who's willing to really risk a John Klingberg, who's I think like 30, and his defensive play isn't quite there anymore. But Seattle's rumored to be on him. Edmonton, of course, like I said, Edmonton's in on every defenseman. Boston Bruins. So to me, Edmonton and Boston make the most sense. Boston and Boston and Anaheim have a history of trades. So we'll see. Seattle would be an interesting landing spot for him, but Edmonton, they're in on a defenseman. It's just who are they going to end up landing? Who's going to end up in Edmonton? Ivan Barbashev of the Blues, another player on the Blues team that probably will get moved. Lots of teams interested in him. Toronto, Edmonton, Tampa Bay, Calgary, Vegas, to name a few. LA even. Luke Schenn, we just talked about. Shane Gostisbehere, another offensive-minded defenseman in Arizona, just like Chychrun. But Gostisbehere's thing, look, he's like Klingberg. He's got he can move the puck really well, great skater, great puck mobility, and a really good offensive-minded defenseman. But his defensive side is just horrible. I mean, it's like he's kind of like Klingberg in the sense that there isn't any. Okay, he is strictly back there to power play, to be a quarterback for the power play, or just get that puck and move it out of the defensive zone quickly because he can skate well and pass well, right? So Gostisbehere is going to be a unique land for any team looking for that type of defenseman. Not a stay-at-home, bang-you guy, but somebody that can move the puck. So we'll see where he ends up, if at all. Kevin Hayes, Philadelphia Flyers. Kevin Hayes is rumored to be on the table. Phillies put him out there saying, hey, give us an offer. We'll see where that ends up. Gustav Nyquist of the Columbus Blue Jackets, also another name. Joel Edmondson, he's been linked. This is the Montreal defenseman. He's been linked. Guess who? Edmonton. He might be on the move. LA, again, interested possibly in Edmonton. Cam Talbot, here's the first goaltender. Cam Talbot of Ottawa, they just got this cat, right, last in the offseason, and here he is. He's already, being put out there and dangled out there by Ottawa for any team that's looking to add depth at the goaltending position. There are a few teams that need a goaltender, Vegas being one of them, Los Angeles possibly too. So, it'd be interesting to see if Cam Talbot gets moved, and it'd be interesting to see any goaltender that might go to a new team, right? Thatcher Demko has also been rumored out of Vancouver as possible, moving him. We'll see, right? Jake McCabe out of Chicago, defenseman. Again, another, guess who's interested in him? Oh, Edmonton, that's right. Edmonton, LA, Toronto have been linked to McCabe. Sean Monahan. It's interesting stuff. Sean Monahan, playing for Montreal, is out there, but the only team that really linked to him is the Colorado Avalanche. Interesting, right? Colorado is, I guess, kind of in on Monahan, and it makes sense. I think he would be a great addition to Colorado Avalanche as they try to get back into the playoffs, which they will, and repeat, right? Repeat as Cup champs. Can they do it with the East so stacked? Probably not. But we'll see. Sean Monahan. Matthias Ekholm of the Predators. Now, he's in the first year of a 4-year contract with Nashville, but apparently they're dangling him out there saying, hey, if anybody wants Matthias Ekholm, come, let's talk. Edmonton, LA, and Ottawa are the 3 teams that I've read are interested in them. There's probably a lot more. But Ekholm of the Preds. Here's one home guy here. Dmitry Kulikov plays for the Anaheim Ducks. I knew he was going to be traded this year, more than likely. He is a UFA at the end of the year. So he's a stay-at-home guy. He's got a lot of experience. And he doesn't have a huge cap hit either. So he's a guy I think will probably get moved. Boston, Winnipeg, Pittsburgh, Toronto even. Linked to Dmitry Kulikov. Nick Ritchie, a forward in Arizona, has had a pretty good year for Arizona. He's jumped around quite a bit. He's actually a former first-rounder of the Anaheim Ducks. And he is now in Arizona, having a pretty decent year, making a name for himself. So he would be a good depth signing for that 3rd or 4th line role. Nick Ritchie. Matt Dumba's been in the rumor mill a lot lately. I'm not sure about this cat anymore. But Matt Dumba, Minnesota Wild. Edmonton, of course. Hey, guess what? Defenseman, Edmonton, what do you know? Ottawa, Boston have been rumored to be in on Matt Dumba. Another one that's interesting is Ivan Provorov in Philly. He's a good defenseman. Young still, solid defenseman. Is Philly willing to give him up? I mean, they've got, Philadelphia's always there. They're not playoff bound this year. They're going to be sellers, or are they? I mean, they've got some really good players and they're not old. They're younger that I would think that you'd want to keep around. The Hayes, the Van Riemsdykes, the Provorov. Why wouldn't you want to hold on to those and build around that? I don't know. I think Philly'd make a big mistake by letting some of these cats go. I really do. But he's also rumored. And LA, Vancouver, and guess who? Edmonton is in on an Ivan Provorov. Erik Karlsson of the San Jose Sharks. This guy's got a huge contract, but he's having a huge year in San Jose. Guess who's interested in him? Edmonton Oilers, yeah. Allegedly, too, I read that the Florida Panthers have inquired about Erik Karlsson, so that's interesting. But I don't know if that's even going to happen. I really don't. He commands so much money that it's going to be kind of like the Toronto deal, where a third team's going to have to be involved to suck up some of that salary. So I don't know. That's pretty far-fetched, Karlsson going anywhere, but Edmonton seems to be the number 1 landing spot for him right now. Adam Henrique of the Ducks, also another player that potentially could be on the move. He has 1 more year after this year on his contract, but man, is he having a good year again. He's a very consistent player. He can play left wing. He's very versatile too. Left wing or center. I love Adam Henrique. I'd hate to see him go. As a Ducks fan, I really like him. But he would be a huge addition to any team trying to make a run in the playoffs as a depth 3rd line type of guy. And he could even play top line type, top 2 line minutes as well. So there you go on those guys. Those are those are the top names floating around there. Some in particular ones, Dylan Larkin. Okay, Dylan Larkin of the Detroit Red Wings. He's in the last year of a 5-year deal. Kind of like Bertuzzi, they've been struggling to get a contract for him, an extension to keep him around. Things haven't come together. So what's Steve Yzerman going to do? Kind of like the Bertuzzi situation there in Detroit. if they don't figure something out, I mean, what choice do you have but to say screw it and ship him, and so you can get something in return? Dylan Larkin would get a good haul back Detroit's way for sure, but you'd also be missing out on Dylan. I mean, Dylan Larkin's a good player, man. So it's hard to see him not being in Detroit. But if they don't work something out, Dylan Larkin's probably going to be on the move. So we'll see what happens there. Moving forward, Detroit's got Stevie Y's got those two players specifically. He's got some decisions to be made and figure out what's going on. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Boston Bruins specifically, the number one team in the NHL, to wrap up this video. Boston. So Boston, they've been linked to several different players. Okay, I feel like, based on all the things I'm reading and seeing, and they're going to make a splash. It's just a matter of who, and is it going to be a forward or is it going to be a defenseman? Last year they made a big splash. They signed Hampus Lindholm from the Anaheim Ducks. They traded for him and then signed him to a long-term deal. And Lindholm's a solid defenseman. It was hard to see him go, but he did. So they're gonna do something. Okay, I mean, look at all these teams that are doing stuff right now. Toronto with the O'Reilly thing. So who's Boston gonna go after? So here's some forwards that I think the Boston Bruins should look at. Just because they, if they need anything at the forward position, they need a depth center. Okay, for that bottom third or fourth line, or maybe a right winger. Okay, they need some added depth on the right wing. But here's some thoughts. Okay, Nick Bjugstad. I kill names. Nick Bjugstad. We'll just leave it at that. From Arizona. Okay, he's one. Jonathan Toews from Chicago. Ivan Barbashev of St. Louis. More likely on the move, and Boston would be a good addition there. Max Domi. Max Domi, I think, wants to stay in Chicago. But Chicago has to look at it like, is it worth moving him and getting something for him in this rebuild, or keeping him around? We'll see what happens there. But Max Domi would be a good addition. He can play center, left wing, right wing, so that's how versatile he is. He's having a pretty good year in Chicago, and he's had good production at other teams as well that he's played for. So playoff wise, adding a Max Domi, he's got some grit to him too, right? That would be a good addition. Nick Bonino, a veteran guy. Nick Bonino, who's playing currently in San Jose. He was a Duck at one point. He played for Nashville. And he's won some cups with Pittsburgh, I believe. So Nick Bonino is a solid depth signing before the trade deadline for any team, really playoff bound. But Boston makes sense. Nick can play center and left wing. Kevin LeBlanc in San Jose as well, or Adam Henrique of the Ducks. He makes a lot of sense too. Another versatile center that can also move off to the wing. So we'll see. Now, on the defensive side, Boston. They added Hampus Lindholm last year at the trade deadline between the Ducks. Who could they potentially be targeting for their blue line? Not that they really need much, but if they were going to do it, are they looking for an offensive-sided defenseman, or are they looking for a stay-at-home defensive-minded defenseman? Well, here we go. Jacob Chychrun of the Arizona Coyotes. I think everybody's in on Jacob Chychrun if they can pull it off. Vladislav Gavrikov of the Columbus Blue Jackets also. I think that would be a good addition for them. Shane Gostisbehere is interesting because if you're looking for offense and a puck-moving guy, I talked about him earlier, he'd be a good addition, as well as John Klingberg of the Anaheim Ducks, right? Luke Shen, okay, that'll add a big body back there, stay-at-home guy. Jake McCabe of Chicago, possibly. Nick Seeler is another one of the Flyers. Joel Edmondson of Montreal is a potential. And then Dmitry Kulikov as well. Now, there's one of the Ducks. There is one player on the Anaheim Ducks, Shattenkirk. Kevin Shattenkirk, proven he's got a Stanley Cup when he won it with Tampa Bay a few years back. He's definitely going to get moved. He's not one of those guys that you hear a lot about. It's interesting because I know that he's not like so old that no one would be interested. His defense and his offense are both kind of in limbo. He had a really good year last year offensively. Defensively, he's losing his mojo, but he still has some offensive upside. He just recently scored his first goal of the year, which was odd because Shattenkirk had a great offensive production year last year for the Ducks. So he hasn't shown too much this year offensively, but the potential is there. Obviously, if you're playing around better players, you're gonna see an uptick in those numbers. So Shattenkirk's another name I don't hear a lot about him as far as where he might go. I definitely know he's going to get moved. There's no way Pat Verbeek of the Anaheim Ducks is going to let him, not go. Okay, there were some rumors there too as well that Shattenkirk could potentially stay and sign with Anaheim long term. I hope that doesn't happen. I'd rather see them ship him and get something decent in return for him. So, anyways, he's another name that's potentially going to be landing somewhere. He makes sense for Boston. He makes sense for Edmonton to me. So we'll see. But hey, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, guys. Tell me what you think. Comment below. Agree, disagree. What are your thoughts? Do you have any ideas on some players you'd like to see on your team, your favorite team, or off your team and moved? Let me know. Comment below. Don't forget to subscribe. Smash the like button. I want to blow it up. Okay? You guys can help me get there. So help me get there. Subscribe and smash that like button to this video. Thanks for watching as always. Love talking trade rumors. I will be talking more trade rumors and more trade stuff as they come along in the next few weeks, so stick around for those. As always, though, thank you for watching. See you next time, guys.